you know. Yeah. No, I know. No, it's that part. I'm not going to talk about it forever, but yeah. Oh, it's what you came for? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't want to hear about my life. No, okay. You know, Trump took office and he immediately signed a wild amount of executive orders. They've been one-upping each other every presidency for a little while. Like, I'm pretty sure Barack Obama signed more than Bush, and then Trump signed more than Obama, and then Biden signed more than Trump. But this was like astronomical. This was a whole lot, because basically Trump went ahead and signed executive orders that rolled back a lot of what Biden did, plus his own. Right. And he did some sweeping stuff. Like, he signed an executive order that began the steps for the U.S. to leave the World Health Organization. I did not do it. But what feels kind of wild to me about the executive orders that Trump is passing, and a lot of the things that we're going to see for the next few months into the rest of his presidency, is basically just a blueprint of everything that Project 2025 said that they were going to do. It's a project that he said he knew nothing about and had nothing to do with, but now that he's in office, they seem hella tight. It's kind of like when you tell the police you don't know somebody, and then the police are like, but here's a picture of you two right here. And the picture hella incriminating, because it's not you just happening to be in the picture with them, it's you being like, hey. You say that you're not boys, but in this picture here, you're holding a different picture of the two of you together. You're like... And sure enough, yeah, Trump signed an executive order that would start the process of the U.S. leaving the World Health Organization. And I feel like there are some things that Trump is doing because they're his idea, and some things that he's doing because his aides and the people that wrote up Project 2025 are pushing him to do it for whatever their own reasons are, right? Like, I feel like they went to Trump and they were like, we need you to pull out of the World Health Organization. Then Trump was like, who? And they were like, yes. And he was like, yes, what? And they were like, who? And he's like, who? And they were like, that's what we're saying. Who's who? And then he was like, I'll do what you want me to do, but I just need to know who it is. And it's like, who is who it is? That's who we want you to do it to. We have to pull out of who? Pull out? Who? Where? Yes, because we believe that who is dangerous. Who is dangerous? Yes, who is dangerous? Where is who? Well, sir, who's all over the world? Who is dangerous all over the world? Yes, that's why we have to pull out of who. I'm not in who, by the way. I'm just standing here. We're just gonna put it on a piece of paper and we need you to sign it. All right. And this is my main thing when it comes to pulling out of the World Health Organization, is that a lot of people take for granted things that are functioning in their life. Things are either good, you expect to be good, and things that are working, you're just like, yeah, it works because it's supposed to work, right? But sometimes we don't ask enough questions on how a working thing got to the way it was. And there hasn't been enough time in between when it didn't work and now for us to remember when it didn't work. Because if we lose access to the World Health Organization, it hurts the World Health Organization by a lot, but it also hurts us. Because then we lose access to their labs, to their data, Most of what happens and the way that cures and vaccines come about quickly is because all these countries are able to share information, which all sort of help us leapfrog over the last breakthrough that another country had. And because it's not a race, it's just shared information. It's just a group project. And our pharmaceutical companies, by the way, also need the World Health Organization to just stay on top of things, right? And I'm no fan of pharmaceutical companies. I'm just saying I'm a fan of people who are sick getting help, right? And so my thing is, if you pull out of the World Health Organization, as good as the doctors that we have in the U.S. are, or at least can be, it won't be long before we're all just sort of WebMD. You know, it won't be long before a new thing, take something like COVID, right? No matter what you believe about the origins of COVID, you understand that something started up in China. And then because of the World Health Organization, everyone was able to talk about it, do testing. They were able to share findings. We were able to get to a vaccine pretty quickly, right? So now, let's say something comes out of another country. And we may know it's coming out of the other country from the news, but we don't actually know any breakthroughs because we're not sharing that data. And everyone has to start all over again every time they try to have a breakthrough. So now you'll just be a regular person walking up to other people like, hey, I'm just asking, just in general, just because I'm curious, but is anybody else like farting blue? No, me neither. No. That's crazy. I don't even know why I said that. That's just like crazy, but like it can happen. You know, I've been hearing on the news that it can happen, and there's people whose whole bathrooms look like a Smurf died. Like it's just, stuff can happen, you know. Just curious. Yeah. And then maybe someone does get sick, and then that sickness starts to spread. And maybe it's not something that we're used to. It's a completely new thing. So now you have somebody being like, hey, is anybody else that was like not born double jointed, been acting double jointed, like just everything can go in every which way? Because double joint people, they seem to not hurt when they do it, but I'm in a lot of pain. So if anyone has any ideas on what to do, I've been eating as much as I can to lower inflammation, but I'm still got my head spinning all the way around when I fall asleep. And then you won't be able to distinguish certain things. There are things that are not related, that we know through science are like not related, even though they're similar, right? You'll be able to know if you have a new thing or if you have a regular version of an old thing. Just walking up to somebody like, hey, look, I'm not trying to get the word out like that. I'm just curious if you've ever heard of this. Do you sleepwalk? Oh, you sleepwalk too? Oh, great. Do you ever sleepwalk and just wake up with a knife every night? Like, does that, just me? Okay. We'll have to look into it. This dude also signed an executive order, the one they promised to, delaying the TikTok ban. But while he was talking about it, after he signed it, he was basically saying like, oh yeah, you know, the U.S. should own some part of it, maybe 50%, maybe more, who knows. And it's hard to tell when Trump talks about what the government should do, if he means the government should own it or he should own it. Because I'm not going to lie, this TikTok thing is the most mob boss thing I've ever seen. It's the most like, oh, you like your little thing? Like, okay, maybe I own some of it. Maybe I own the whole thing. How about that? How about you get out of here? All right, it's mine now. One of the pettiest things that Trump did was he used an executive order to take back John Bolton's security detail. Now, I don't like John Bolton. I'm not like crying for John Bolton or anything. And if you know John Bolton, you'll know who I'm talking about. He looked like a Scooby-Doo villain. When John Bolton got the mustache of somebody who has retired from tying women to train tracks. All right. This dude one of my favorite John Bolton memories was one time he was on, I think it had to be Fox News, he was on, and for some reason, they must have been trying to kill time or something, they put John Bolton, now he was old back then, so this is old, but he was still old when this happened. They put this old man on a hoverboard. And it was as great as you could imagine. They literally try and explain to him what to do on the hoverboard while he's on the hoverboard, which is the worst time to tell somebody how to operate a hoverboard. Don't let them get on and then be like, okay, now subtly. And so then this man, not knowing what to do, sort of moves his hips a little bit, and he just starts spinning. And you can go back and watch the clip. This man is screaming, ah, ah! But Trump took back his security detail. And it was just to be petty. It's just because he doesn't like John Bolton, and John Bolton doesn't like him, right? But it's one of the pettiest things I've seen from a government official, because all he's really doing, all Trump is really saying is like, hey, look, now that I'm back, I just want to make sure if you have any ops at all, that they have as little resistance as possible. Him pulling John Bolton's Secret Service detail is like if I uncalled 911 for somebody. Like they called 911 and I called right after, be like, hey, that last dude, he was just playing. Don't come. It's not a big deal. Don't come at all. I know he's like, oh, he has a knife or what, but don't come. He was just trolling. Even the executive order he signed renaming the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. This is one thing that has to stop. It has to stop immediately, because we cannot make it this hard on these kids. I remember when I was a kid. I remember when I was a child in school and they told me that Pluto was not a planet, but it was, but it wasn't, but it was, but it wasn't, and it is, but it isn't. And I failed every test where they asked me what Pluto was. I was like, there was one time where it was a fill-in. You had to describe the planets and you had to talk about what gases and everything the planet was made of and why we couldn't live on that planet, why Earth was perfect to live on. And when we got to Pluto, I didn't know what to say anymore, because it had been a planet and then it wasn't a planet and then it had been a planet and it even changed like astrological signs or something like that. And so I was like, you know what? It's up there. How about that? Changing the Gulf. And then you even had publications like The Guardian being like, we're still going to call it the Gulf of Mexico, but we will call it Gulf of America for context in places where it seems fit, where the president is being quoted. I was like, it is or it isn't. Then you had Trump signing executive order. You had Trump pardoning everybody from January 6th. That's wild. You ever had somebody go to jail from your neighborhood? Maybe this is just too specific to me, but you ever had somebody go to jail from your neighborhood and you're like, I'm not a snitch, but thank God. Oh. There was this dude named LaDon, right? And I can say his name because he's never gonna get out. But there was a dude I knew named LaDon, and I remember when he got locked up, I was like, oh no, don't. Like, see what I mean? Because you wanna show that solidarity, but the police were taking him. I was like, oh, how dare you, 5-0. I can't stand 12. LaDon, no. Oh, but LaDon was wild. He's like a proper criminal. It's like, you know, because then his boys were wearing like free LaDon shirts, and I was just like, Anytime I saw one of them, I was like, oh no, I hope this doesn't have the support that I think it does. There was even one of his friends that wrote to the local, I think it was council person or something, trying to get him to look into it. And I'm not gonna lie, I low-key did like a John Bolton, and I also wrote to the local council. I was like, hey, he was just playing. LaDon need to be in there. Don't pay any attention to what he's saying. Like, he just kind of wilding right now. You know what it is? LaDon owe him $20, and he want the 20 back. He doesn't want him free. He should not be free. LaDon a bad person. LaDon was a bona fide monster. So now imagine LaDon go to jail. The hood is free. You've seen like homecoming parties for people when they get out of jail. I've never seen a party for somebody who just got arrested. Like, The people who felt like we finally had liberation were having a whole cookout off of this dude's charges. And then his boys with the shirt came to the barbecue. I'm like, are you happy or not? But now imagine LaDon locked up. We can finally rest easy. And then the President of the United States is like, actually, nah, LaDon, well, he not innocent, but I don't care. And now he's coming home. That's got to be what it feels like for some of these people. There were plenty of people, don't get me wrong, there were plenty people that were up there, did January 6th. They felt like the election had been stolen. They were sure that they had proof. They wanted to hang the vice president. They came in there with all the smoke, ready for all the juice. And then they get to go home, too. This has to have been a wild experience if you are a J6er, because you were there. Remember when they pooped on the desk? They let them leave that day. They pooped on the desk that day, and then they were like, get out of here. And they were like, you right. And then they left. And they were very willing to be on camera. There were people interviewing each other about what they were doing. It's like, hey, Patriot, what are you doing? Oh, I'm tearing up Nancy Pelosi's office right now in protest of the election being stolen. This is me, James Atwood. I just made up a name, but they were saying their full names. They were saying their full names, and there was one dude that I'm pretty sure was trolling because he was literally getting people to say their address, and that felt insane. Like, I've never had to say my address out loud to somebody I didn't know. And then police come, and they're like, hey, get out of here. And then people left, and you saw them leave. You saw them leave different parts of the rotunda, everything, with smirks on their faces. And then over the course of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, started picking them up left and right. People started, hey, he was there. Oh, they're posting about it. It was on their social that they were there and what they did, right? Them pepper spraying, them throwing stuff at police, all that stuff. And then they start getting arrested. And they're like, what? But I thought, how could this be? How? And then they were sitting in jail. And then, before Trump left, they were like, surely he'll pardon us. And he was like, I'll see y'all in a bit. You know? Because there was a lot of like misunderstandings about who we could pardon and who we couldn't, and when people were charged and all this stuff like that. And then he becomes president again. This dude is now president again. And then he pardons them. And woof. Normally, I'm used to seeing a lot of people get out of jail through like innocence projects and stuff like that. People who did not do something. And then they're like, I never thought anyone would believe me. I thought I was going to sit in jail, and now I'm free. And they're nothing but grateful. They get out, they're hugging their families, they're crying and stuff. And that has not been the case with the J6. Everybody that got let out is very angry. They're so angry, and a lot of them have already tweeted, I'm buying a gun. And it's like, why would you tell anybody that? You were already caught on camera doing the thing, and now you're like, and now that I'm out, I've got a gun. Okay, LaDon. Like, it's crazy too, because this dude signed that executive order for DOGE, for the Department of Government Efficiency, that Elon is supposed to run. Which Elon's also had a week. Because Elon was supposed to run Doge, and he was supposed to really like get in there of what the budgets were, of who everyone was and everything, and he was going to reshape government in the image that he saw best fit him, his businesses, and his worldview, right? And then, I don't know how he did it, but he already like did something that Trump didn't like.
Of course he did.
Like, it happened quickly, because this dude was supposed to have an office that was near the Oval Office, right? And then one of Trump's, I think a cabinet member, but maybe it's an aide. I can't remember who it was. But they told Elon outright, they were like, hey, you're not going to be around here. And in fact, you're not going to talk to the president, you're going to talk to me. Which is wild. Now, don't get me wrong, that person is also like a huge MAGA Trump Republican. But still, the fact that they felt the need to wedge themselves between Trump and Elon already speaks volumes. You know, because Elon, you know, was standing behind the presidential seal. And this is how you know that a lot of people are truly out of their minds. This dude did a Nazi salute that we then debated if it was a Nazi salute for like every day after, including the day of. And I don't know if you should be allowed to talk if you can't believe your eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are people that are like, that was not a Nazi salute. He was throwing his heart out to the crowd. I'm like, well, he has a weird pitch. You know what I mean? I always throw my heart like this. And he did it twice to make sure you knew what it was, which is pretty wild. One thing that I like about Elon, which is not many things, is that he always manages to quickly make the people that take up for him look super stupid. Like, really dumb. Because so many people had so many different things. They came to his defense. It was several things at once. It was like, guys, no, that was not a Nazi salute, okay? It was a Roman salute. I'm like, all right, you ever split a hair before? Apparently you don't know what that looks like. No, it wasn't a Roman salute. He has Asperger's. I know a lot of people with Asperger's. I know a lot of people that are on the spectrum. I know a lot of people with, you know, different types of autism on different parts of the spectrum. And when I've hung out with them and they've needed to point, or they want to show me affection, you know what they never did? Anything that looked like that. It's pretty crazy. It's like 100% fundamentally insane that people would then, I don't know. Maybe there's some law I don't know about where if you are a news publication and you say someone did a Nazi salute and they didn't actually do a Nazi salute, that they'll like sue you into oblivion and you just won't exist anymore. But I feel like when you see it, you can say it. And the fact that so many notable publications were like, he did a thing that appeared to be, none of us have ever got the leeway that Elon got that day. If there was a video of me stealing out of a store, the headline would not read, Josh Johnson is holding something that appears to not be his in the form of a Best Buy electronic. You see how that works? You see how when you see something, you can say exactly what it is and the world won't shatter? I do think genuinely that if people call out what they saw, they might feel the need to do something about it. So rather than do any of that, let's sidestep it and just be like, look, maybe it would, but I don't know. Who knows? These do. Like, in what world do you not know? You saw it. And you know how you know you saw it? Because Nazis saw it. And you know who was excited about it? Was Nazis. They were very excited. And if they think they saw it, then what are you doing now? If they're very sure of what it was, what do you look like being so unsure? No, it was a Roman salute. No, he has Asperger's. No, he's just awkward and he gets excited. I'm awkward. I got a lot of problems. And you know what I've never done? Never. But truly, that's like that's a thing that I watch happen. And then so many people are like, guys, he's anything but a Nazi. He's not a Nazi. He loves Jewish people. And then we pointed to tweets where people showed whole sick conspiracy theories against Jewish people and anti-Semitic rhetoric. And then he would comment under it, that's true. but somehow he's not a Nazi. And then, for everyone who was still like on the fence or still hardcore, pro Elon, he's not a Nazi, y'all. He went ahead and did y'all a huge favor. He attended an AFD rally via satellite in Germany and told them, hey, you gotta let go of the past, y'all. We can't keep feeling bad about stuff that happens. The AFD, by the way, which is the most Naziest of the Nazi. He's like, no, you gotta be proud of your Germanness. These are all dog whistles, but you can hear it. You know, I hear you, dog. And then Trump signed this executive order that rolled back protections and acknowledgement of trans people, all right? And, I didn't do it. And the thing is, you know, if there's anything that I wish Trump would ban that had anything to do with gender, it would be gender reveals. They're getting genuinely dangerous. I watched a gender reveal where they had, because then they're creative in the worst ways. Because then I watched this gender reveal where they had a blue plane and a pink plane, right? And both planes were flying at the couple, right? And then I guess whichever plane, I don't really know how it's supposed to work because both planes flying, so I don't know how we're going to figure out what the baby is. You know what I mean? So then the pink plane veered off to the right and the blue plane kept straight. So I guess that meant it was a boy because they started celebrating, right? But they started celebrating without moving and the plane was still coming at them. And so it's not a big plane, but it's a little bigger than a toy plane, and it hit the husband in the face and chopped his head all up. Like he's alive, he's fine, but you could tell it hit him hard, and he trying to still celebrate, but he's clearly concussed. He's 100% concussed, just oh. Didn't even put a hand out or anything. I don't know who is like winning with this thing. You know, maybe if you're a tech billionaire, you're doing very well because he's going to push through to like lower regulations so that you can make things as fast as possible, even if those things need some guardrails because they might be potentially dangerous, whatever, you know. And if you really hate other people, then yes, you're having a good week. But for Americans, like specifically for us, I don't know what these things do. You know? Like I don't know what rolling back what few protections there were for trans people does for me. I thought the election was about safety and eggs. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was like everyone was talking about eggs a lot. Like everybody was like really hitting those eggs. I didn't know eggs were everybody's favorite food. Like eggs. People weren't even talking about bread. They were talking specifically about eggs. I think a lot of people went to like Kroger or Walmart or something on the wrong day and they were like, hell no, eggs is my number one issue. I'm a one issue voter and eggs is that vote. And so I don't know what any of this has to do with eggs. But it doesn't seem like we're getting there. You know? Even the language of the executive order was weird. The language of the executive order was like, you have to treat and address people as the sex that they were assigned at conception, which is not how, that's not how anything works. If it's conception, when it happens, then there's no men. There would be no dudes. This is not a plan. Like this is terrifying. Don't be wrong. There are plenty of people who are scared. And there are plenty of people who don't know what to do next. And one thing I really want people to stop doing, and I'm not anybody's boss, you can do what you want, you can probably, whatever, screw me, but we're not like cooked. Don't do that thing. Don't give up immediately. Like there's a sort of rhetoric and an idea that like, oh, we're finished and this is it, and like there's nothing that can be done. It's like guys, no. But then you see people devastated, giving up very quickly. Oh man, we're ruined. We're so cooked. It's like, I mean, if you believe that, then we are. Like, if you earnestly believe that, then yes, absolutely. That's what cooked looks like, because cooked is done, and you like your steak raw. So, yeah, I mean, like day one, we're cooked. That's also, that kind of made me furious. I'm not gonna lie. Not even like an armed resistance attacking people or something like that. Oh, we're cooked. It's like, you saw him with his pen. Like, I'm saying genuinely, people, please, if you feel anything, then you should openly speak it. One of the reasons that these things spread, why negativity spreads, why like the general pessimism towards movements spread, is because people let their doubt reign over everything, all of their discussion, all of their thinking. It's like, I'm not saying that I know exactly what to do about executive orders that he passed that I don't agree with. Those things are for the courts to hopefully fight. But I will say, for every person that I know that was affected by an executive order that he has, that I know is scared, I talk to that person. And I tell them, hey, I'm at least here. Now, I'm not the president, but I'm here for you, locally, right? That's how you build community. And that's how you keep people from being afraid. Because people don't know. They genuinely don't know that there are people that are willing to back them up. They have no idea, right? He signed an executive order that was supposed to take away birthright citizenship for people who were not already citizens, and to stop any confusion, it was going to be birthright citizenship starting now, right? Because if it was for all time, then like half of his cabinet, they wouldn't even know where to take them, put them. And then he started work on this thing that he'd been promising. And it was a thing that people didn't really think he was going to do, of like mass deportations. And so far, these are the numbers so far as I know them. Once again, I'm willing to be like fact checked. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But this is from what I've read and from what I know, this is basically what has happened. They did some ICE raids in places like Chicago, and there were some in Texas too, Arizona, and like plenty of like sanctuary cities. That's ones they were like targeting initially. I'm not sure why, because you would think in the red states that vote for this thing, they would want it first. Like, that just seems like it's making nobody happy. And they rounded up some people, and they went ahead and took off for Mexico. And so then they take off for Mexico. We did it. We raided. We got some people. Gonna drop them off at Mexico because these are Mexican illegal immigrants, right? And so then FAA comes on and they're like, hey, don't land here. And I do think that nobody really thought that part through. I don't think people really thought. And then even when they let them land, they were like, don't let them off the plane. Just turn around. And they were like, all right, okay. We will be back though. We'll be back with more, right? Because I should be clear here that apparently, from what I've read, just deporting these 80 people cost the taxpayer $700,000. So I do not know how we're going to save any money. I don't know how this plan is going to work. 80. There's supposedly 11 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S., right? 11 million, so 3.3% of the population, right? And we started with 80. If I owed somebody $11 million, and I told them, hey, I ain't got all that right now, but I do have this 80, I'm getting my ass beat. That's crazy. 80 and $700,000. I'm not in government. I'm not acting like I know how to fix a situation. I'm not acting like I know what to do about where we're at. But I will say this. If I know I got to spend $700,000 to get 80, this is just me. This is just me. This is just me. I'm not telling anybody else to do it. This is just me. This is what I would do if it were me and I knew $700,000 for 80. I would just tell those 80 people, listen, I'm going to break you off some. Start a new life somewhere else. You get 1/80th of 700,000, right? And come back in like 6 months, all right? Because that's one thing that you will not hear. As this whole thing builds out, you will not hear about people coming over illegally. They're going to act like it's not happening. They're going to act like it's all going one way. They're denying everything. They're denying all of these legal ways to become a citizen, legal ways to gain citizenship, legal ways to get a card or just to be able to work in the U.S. They canceled a lot of appointments for people who were doing the right thing, right? And so my thing is just use your logic and pay attention to what is not being said over the next few months to several years, because they're not going to want to admit that these people are coming in still, even while they're making these efforts, because it will make them look even more desperate, even less efficient, you know? Because they told us before the election all of these incredible stories about how migrants were coming in. They were like, and look, I don't even know how they're doing it, but in Honduras and Guatemala, they're disassembling themselves, mailing themselves here, and then reassembling themselves, and then walking around amongst us. But now that they've supposedly shut down the border, they want us to believe that all of these legal ways of entering have also just stopped. And that's not true. You're fighting a losing battle if it takes you $700,000 to send 80 people somewhere that says, hey, we're not... You know what I mean? That's one of the craziest things too. Is a deeply ironic thing that they did all this, sent people over, and then the other countries were like, "Hey, those are American immigrants." No, that's crazy. No, and I think a lot of it. I think a lot of the tactics that have been taken and some of the logic that's been used on the news and everything is just is genuinely like fear based. It's to rile you up. It's to make you feel afraid and everything. And you know, even in the executive orders, 100 executive orders or so, and so many of them don't really say anything. They don't. I grew up in Louisiana, and. Oh, thanks. Yeah. And once in a while, my friends and I would go to New Orleans. It was always a big deal because it was like going to, another world and everything, because we weren't from a good part, right? And when we went one time, I was with 3 of my friends, and one of my friends was like, oh, we should all go to a psychic while we're here in the French Quarter, right? Because they have a bunch of psychics lined up, right? And so I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't even really believe in psychics. And even if I did, I don't know if I want to know, right? I'm all right. And he was like, no, come on, it'll be fun. Let's do it, right? So sure enough, he convinces all 3 of us to go ahead and do it. And there's lots of different psychics lined up. There's some people that are reading palms. There's some people that have tarot cards. There's some people that are just staring at you like, oh, And so, I sat at a tarot table, right? And I don't know anything about tarot cards at all. I don't know what the process is or anything, but I went ahead and I paid the lady, because you got to pay up front, right? They can't just be like, here's the future now. And so I went ahead and paid and everything. And then she started dealing, right? And so, I didn't know. So when she had dealt a couple, I just scooped up a couple. Because I don't know how to play, right? And then she was like, don't do that. And so then she redealt, and I kept my hands to myself this time. And then she got to, there was one card she got to where she just went, ooh. She went, ooh, and then scooped up all the cards, grabbed her tablecloth, and walked away. I was like, that's not, you can't, I paid you for $5 worth of future. You got to say something. That's not, you can't just walk off. What? Because now I feel crazy because I just paid $5 to believe in that now. I don't know what she saw. My friends are next to me. They all getting their palms. Oh, yeah. Then they get done. And they're like, what about you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anything because she walked away. She can't just... And they were like, oh, maybe she was a scammer. I was like, maybe? She didn't even try. It's the future. You don't know. I can't prove. Do you know what I mean? Make something up. Even if you saw something terrible, lie to me. I won't know. And so then they were like, oh, well, stuff happens. It's just $5. I was like, nah. So I sat down with another psychic. I was like, hey, can you help me? And she's like, what are you looking for? What do you know? I'm like, no, none of that. I need you to find... I need you to track down one of you so then you can tell me what she saw. You know, like in the 80s movies when somebody would get in the cab and they'd be like, follow that car. I was doing that. But with the psych, because I was like, you need to track her, because she walked off with the tablecloth and everything. I don't think she's coming back. Like, I need you to see what she saw to just... And she was like, oh, it doesn't work like that. I was like, how does it work? We are dealing with an emergency here, because she didn't just go, ugh. She was like, ugh, like... It doesn't look ambiguous what's about to happen next. You need to know what it is. There's an interesting thing that's happened over the past, 2 years, I'd say, where everyone has built out categories for people who are famous, right? So there are some people that are like that old Hollywood type of famous that's kind of disappearing. You may never get another one of these again, like Brad Pitt level famous, right? Like, we don't know if that'll ever happen again because the internet has split us so much that, there's very few hardcore blockbuster movies that just everyone went to see. And when they are happening, it's still factions of people. And it's not the same actors in the same movies every time. So, the closest we've probably got is, Timothée Chalamet. You know what I mean? He was in Wonka and then Dune 2 and, and then something else at the same time. It felt like everybody in Hollywood. I remember that time because for those period of months when I was going to the movies, it felt like everybody else in Hollywood got sick. And it felt like they just kept calling no, we need you to do, or the movie won't come out. It's like, okay, that he's Wonka, that I know where he's a Fremen, and he's like, it's like, it was just a lot, right? And then you have people who are that old Hollywood famous. Then you have people who are more like internet famous in a way that may stick or may not stick. So you have people that have millions and millions of followers on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever. So they're technically as famous, if not more famous than the old Hollywood people, right? Because these people were picked by the people, you know what I mean? Whereas the other people's sort of their success feels like studio, feels like, a machine driving it or something. And then you also have lengths, right? Lengths of fame. So there are some people that are famous the way that they will be as famous as long as a turtle lives. Do you know what I mean? They'll be famous for so long that they'll actually die and still be famous after they're dead because people keep watching their movies and they're in classics and stuff. So it's those Marlon Brando types and stuff like that, where even if you don't know who they are, even if you can't picture it, you know what they've created, you know a part of what they did while they were here, you know? And then there's people that are famous for a shorter amount of time. It's still substantial, but it's not the same amount. So people that are famous like lifespan of a dog. Like it's still quite a bit of time. You know, there are people who were like super famous in the 90s who are less famous now, but if you saw them in a grocery store, you'd be like, ah! Don't move, don't move. You were in something. You were in, I know your face, you were in something. And then there are people that are famous for like the lifespan, and this is sadly most of fame. There are people that are famous for the lifespan of like a goldfish. This is here and gone, right? If you blink, you'll miss it. They were famous for like a week, you know? They really subscribe to that 15 minutes in a sense, you know? Because you don't even really remember why they were famous, and then someone has to like go on and on about the thing that they did. Like, I don't know her name, and I'm not picking on her or anything, but just as an example, it's like that one girl that was on TikTok that hit her hip on the bedpost. It was like, ah! And it's like... I don't know who she is. I don't know where she is. She could be here. But I wish her well. I'm not saying this as in like it's a dig on her. I'm just saying that that's what happens, is that now that algorithms are ruling the world and ruling how we see the world, how we see perspective from other people, and how we like take in any form of media, right? I think that those are like the 3 levels, you know? So there are people who you think are going to be goldfish, and then they end up being dogs. And we haven't lived long enough to see if a goldfish is ever going to become a turtle. But it's like here today, gone tomorrow, and it'll sweep the entire country. It might sweep the world for like a week or months. You don't know when it's going to end, right? Like I can't tell if the 𝐉𝐸 girl is a goldfish or like a dog, right? Because this is my thing. Okay, if somehow you don't know the phenomenon that is the 𝐉𝐸 girl, basically, very quickly, it's something that took over the world for some reason. Where, you know, people do those street interviews on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and stuff, and basically they walked up to this one young lady who was out with her friend, and they were like, what's one thing that drives a man wild? And she was like, you gotta go 𝐉𝐸 and spit on that thing, right? And in a few sentences, she captured the hearts, the hearts and minds of America in a way that sadly a president never could. And I think one of the reasons she blew up, because a lot of people accused her of being a plant or this being like some weird thing as soon as it happened. But I think that one of the things that propelled her to where she is now and what pushed her in so many different algorithms, because she blew up on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. And then there were like derivative things of her after the fact. And then people were trying to figure out who she was, all this stuff, right? And I think that it's because most of what creates anything and what drives algorithms is discussion, right? If you can get people to argue, you're getting people to comment. If you're getting people to comment, this soulless, faceless algorithm just sees that a lot of people are talking about it, so then it pushes it to more people to talk about. Because all they want is your attention. They just want to keep you where you are right now in your phone, right? So then people saw it, and then there were people who immediately hated her. Like, just in a way that's like, Not, and this isn't a soapbox thing, just I'm saying I witnessed it. They hated her in a way that we only seem to hate women online. They hated her so much. And I think a lot of people hated her because she was right. But I don't know. I mean, some people hated her immediately, and some people loved her immediately. Some people thought she was the most endearing, so sweet, so funny, so genuine, because that's another thing that people are attracted to in a world that feels like everyone has a very cold and calculated outreach plan or way to get you to buy something or way to keep your attention. It just felt like somebody walked up to her and she talked and she had fun. She was out all night with her friend and then she left, right? And I think that that level of being genuine really captured people in that moment, right? And so now, and I don't know where she goes from here. Apparently she's like getting a show, and apparently there's going to be like, I don't know, a bunch of stuff that happens. There's already people who have like paid her to appear and stuff like that. And then you saw people get mad about that. There were some people that were like, that's so unfair. She was just talking, and now all of a sudden she has stuff, and then that kept it going. And people don't seem to realize that, like, what keeps her going is us talking. Not in a bad way. I'm not saying a diss on her or anything. I'm just saying, even right now, what I'm doing is keeping her in the algorithm forever. I do wish her well, though, because I think that especially if you are at like, sadly, if you're at like a goldfish level of fame, you don't really know why you're here. Kind of like the goldfish in the bowl that's swimming in a circle. Not really sure where it's going or if it can go anywhere, or just, I'm just here, you know. I used to be at a fair and now I'm at this dude's house. Because when you aren't known for a thing, when there's not, at least we used to have these turtles because we used to prop up people who were famous as these demigods. And we still do it. We do it in different ways now, because now there isn't just like old celebrity. Now there's like digital creator, there's influencer, there's all these different people, but we still do it to people where we like deify them in real time, right? And I think that before it was always attached to a skill. So it was always like Marlon Brando is the most brilliant actor of all time. Orson Welles is this incredible director, right? All of these people are absolutely deified in their skill and what they do. So then even the people that want to reach their heights, whether it's fame or just skill, they want to get to that level, and it's something that may never be achievable, right? And then when you're like dog famous, people stop calling, right? Like, it's like I was available for parts, but I don't know. Like I didn't want to take the steroids, so then Marvel was like, no. You know, and I wish her well, because I think that it's a terrifying thing to just have everybody think they can get something from you or want something from you immediately, and you don't really know why, right? And you don't know how to keep what you got. Maybe you can turn it into something, you know? Like, who knows? Maybe I is an actress now. Like, I have no idea. Maybe it is a start to something, or maybe it just petered out because, you know, that was a moment in time, right? Because it's just hard. Because then if you're out one day, no one talks about that. No one talks about what becoming like unfamous is. You know, people that are famous actually, then they turn to becoming infamous just to keep some level of normalcy of where they were, right? That's why sometimes in my opinion, you see people who used to be more famous, all of a sudden they lose their minds, right? Like you'll just be on Twitter one day and see like Randy Quaid said something. And you're like, okay, all right, that's what he's up to now. All right. No. Because I think if you don't really know why you're there, and if people aren't actually around you, protecting you, nurturing you, and taking care of you, right? Because we don't, I mean, unless she's here, we don't know how to a girl. Like, just, we don't know what she wants out of all this or something. It was just sort of thrust upon her. And she said, she's like, I quit my job immediately and I just started taking meetings and stuff. And I'm like, good for you, but also like, be careful. You know what I mean? Because if you don't know why you're here, you don't know how to stay, and then you get treated like a goldfish after. After a couple weeks, and you get, next thing you know, that's not a regular bowl. It's a And by the way, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that she gets to use whatever springboard she wants, or like landing pad that improves her life. Because also, she didn't necessarily sign up for this thing. Somebody just asked her, what makes a man go crazy in bed? And then she knew, so then she answered, right? Like, that's... I went to years ago, when I was with my friends back home in Louisiana, I went to a buffet. And this is a buffet before COVID, right? So this is a buffet that we just didn't know was nasty yet, right? Like COVID, just gives you a different perspective on things that are like communal, right? Because a buffet is just family style eating, but it's with the public. Because you've had meals with your family before, and then you got that one cousin that's nasty, right? So then you're like, can someone please pass the mashed potatoes? And then they get ready to pass the mashed potatoes. You're like, ooh, not you, right? And then they grab the bowl and go to pass you, but they got their thumb in the bowl so they can get some grip on it, right? And then you're like, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's... Scoop it up, grab it from the bottom, hand it to me, because now it's thumb potatoes. So that's what it is. This is a buffet. It's just, with everybody. And I even tried to give a buffet a shot post-COVID. And to be fair, maybe I wasn't being fair. Maybe I judged too quickly. But I basically walked in, and somebody who wasn't even at the food, just somebody at a table coughed, and I was like, forget this. This is... But this is years ago. I was in Louisiana with a few of my friends and went to this buffet. Now, this buffet did something special where basically they had the whole buffet and you could pay for that, or you could get a box. And if you got a box, it was a lot of the things that were at the buffet you could pick and choose, but it was food that came out of the kitchen, right? So it didn't feel like you were participating. And so I would always get a box, and there was one day they had a special, right? So you could get a box, and then for $1, you could get double meat, which I realize now as an adult is not a deal. Because meat should never be $1, right? Like... Because you told me the whole box was $13, and then they were like, for $1, we'll just double it up. That means that all the meat is 50 cents. These margins are too tight for you to just be giving away all this meat for $1, right? This is horse. It has to be. All the meats that I know of cost a little bit of money, right? And so I was young. And I was naive, and so I was like, ooh, hit me with that double meat. And so sure enough, they give me the box. It's packed, right? and there's just a ridiculous amount of meat, a bed of rice, some veggies on the side, and like a little treat in one of the little compartments, right? And so we all sit down to eat, and I am loving life because I'm eating like a king for like $13. Had a coupon. And everything's well and good. We even leave. And about 40 minutes later, I get a pain. But the pain is not in my chest or my stomach. The pain is like in the middle, like right here, which is terrifying because I was like, I shouldn't get this till I'm 58. Like this is too specific of a spot. Like it needs to be like, you know, like head, shoulder, you know what I mean? Like all the pain should have a section, right? And like it either needs to be stomach ache or heart attack. I don't want whatever this is. This is an insane region to have this much pain. And so then I'm doing all types of weird movements trying to like make the pain decide where to go. Like I'm trying to either push it up or knock it down or something. Like I'm cramping up, but it's like it's right here. And I've never felt anything like that before. And so then I have like a little, I don't know, I do some motion and the pain just gets even tighter here, right? And then it starts to hit my stomach, and so I run. I didn't even know I was fast. I run. I run to the bathroom, right? And I run to the bathroom, and I'm glad nobody was in that one because I kicked the stall door open, right? Because what an incredible day. It's been beautiful outside. It's a real, yeah, no, you can clap. This is big for us because we had a whole ass hurricane this weekend. That was crazy. It was so, New York this is already a dirty place. This is already a disgusting city. This place should never be wet. That was unacceptable. Like even when I looked outside, I was like, there's a whole lot of stuff out there right now that should not be getting wet, right? And then I had to run. So I was gonna be late for a spot, so I was running, right? And as I was running, I almost slipped. And if I had fallen on the wet New York pavement, if I had fallen on the somehow warm water, I don't even think I would have not. I think I would have killed myself. I think that was on my last thread. I've been reading the news and I saw this story that's captivated me. It was a British Airways pilot that got fired because they caught him the night before. He had done a bunch of cocaine off of a stripper's titty. I know. Some of y'all are like, awesome. And I read the whole story, and when I got done reading the story, I had lots of questions. First question. Why is the titty part of the story? That feels, you know what I mean? That feels like the least consequential part. The titty did nothing wrong. Like, it was just being there for a good time and everything. And second, is that why they fired him? Did they go to him? They were like, you don't even do it all flat surfaces. You're not responsible with your cocaine. How can we put lives in your hands when you're this reckless with your cocaine? You know when you put it on the titty, you lose at least half. Third question that it brought up for me. Is flying a plane low-key easy? How are pilots this comfortable getting this blazed all the time? It's like, this story happens like once a month. Pilots get caught being drunk and being high or whatever. I have a theory, and this is a conspiracy theory that just I have. And I know I don't expect you to believe what I'm about to say. I just think this, okay? You know, like when you're getting off a flight and you're walking to the front and the pilot is standing there, just standing in front of the cockpit. You know that weird thing they do? It's really awkward. They're like waiting for some sort of attaboy or something. It's like, it's honestly the thirstiest thing I've ever seen. Like they just land the plane and now they're like, oh, did you like that? That was me. That was. They, like pilots in front of the cockpit after the flight look like dudes before Tinder. Just like, what do you think of me? So anyway, when you look past them, which I always do, when you look right past them into the cockpit, you can see all these like little switches, all these levers in the cockpit, all these little lights, all these labels. I think, just me, I think none of that shit worked. That's all for show. That's not real. There's a button under their seat that says fly, and they hit that. That's how the plane takes off. Otherwise, I can't believe they're this comfortable being drunk, you know? Because I think it must just be an easy job. Everybody here knows, everyone here knows somebody with an easy job that is high for that job 100% of the time. I got 5 friends that are dog walkers. They're on the moon half the week. All they gotta do is walk. Yep. All right. You don't even need to give them a direction. Just they walk until the dog is tired. These dogs look like tortilla chips, by the way, to them. They're very high. I don't know. Just maybe you don't need to fire them. Did they really need to fire them? You know, ask yourself truly, what if he fly better on cocaine? Did anybody ask that? What if he's a better pilot? What if he does a little cocaine and then he's up there alert, just dodging clouds? Let him be, if it's an easy job, let him be drunk and high. Just knock $200 off my ticket. That's all I ask. I'll take a drunk discount. I don't care. You know? That's the other thing. You know, we narrowly missed it by like 2 hours. There was almost a government shutdown. There was almost a whole government shutdown, which is crazy. We send them to do government. We send these people to do government, and they're so bad doing government, they almost didn't have money for government. And then they still weren't going to be fired. You know what I mean? When there's a government shutdown, they just take a vacation and then come back and work it out. It's insane. And they still get paid. They mismanage this shit so badly that it has to shut down, and they still get paid. It's the government workers that don't get paid, you know? Federal workers have to get furloughed. They don't get any pay. FAA up there doing their job, hoping they'll get paid later. TSA doesn't get paid. If you think TSA are some bastards now, imagine them showing up knowing they're not getting paid. If you are not getting paid to do TSA and you still show up, you're doing it for the love of the game, all right? You're doing it because you like fucking up people's flights. That's the whole real. Oh, this bitch thinks she going to Aruba. All right, not today. Not on my watch. All right. I can't stand them. They're the worst. They really are. They're always asking me dumbass questions. You know, you'll be in line. They'll grab your bag, be like, why is there so much lotion in this bottle? It's like, that's how it came. Don't act like I'm being weird. That's how much Aveeno CVS sells. I didn't make the lotion. Just throw it away if you need to. They be holding it up like, he's got lotion. Why does he have so much lotion? Questions need to be answered. Oh my God. Can't stand it. No. That's the thing. That's how you know nobody cares about your safety in reality. Nobody cares. Nobody at the airport cares. Pilot is drunk. And the TSA is just, they say they're looking for bombs, but they're just taking menial shit off you. They're like, why is your comb so sharp? It's like, oh my God. They like trying to check if everything is a bomb, but then they still will let an airport have a Taco Bell. It's like, what about those ass bombs you're sending in the air? That's crazy. It's wild. Because what if something happens, like the Spain plane? Remember the Spain plane? Do y'all know about it? Okay, in case you don't know about the Spain plane, there was a plane on its way to Spain months ago that had to turn around halfway there because somebody shit the plane, all right? And no, the plane got bathrooms. They weren't like, hold it until you get to Spain. Someone shit the plane, all right? That's crazy. CNN reported it. That's how big of a story it was. They had to divert. People were like, is there a terrorist on? It's like, kinda. Like, it was absolutely crazy. Someone went to college, studied journalism, then got a job at CNN. And at 8 o'clock on my TV, they were like, somebody shit the plane. Somebody. That's wild. I feel like, just roll with me here for a second. Just stick with me. I feel like the world would be a better place if more women punched people. Because I feel like there's a show that I watch. I was raised by 3 women, so I watched a lot of Lifetime, all right? And there was a show on Lifetime called Snapped. If you haven't heard of it, it's a show about women killing their husbands. All right? And just so you know, there's 28 seasons. So women have been cooking, okay?